Thanks for stopping by, guys. How's everybody doing? We all know that every good thing comes to an end. But also, every cruddy thing comes to an end as well. Nothing lasts forever. I look back at some of the stores that were around when I was growing up, most of which aren't even around anymore. Does anyone remember when Sears and Roebuck were the #1 retailer? Didn't think that anybody would ever be able to topple them. Heard the same thing about Walmart really not all that long ago when they were the #1 retailer. Nobody was going to be able to top them. Then came Amazon. Every company, every government, every religion has its heyday, but they all drop off sooner or later. JW has been preaching the end of the system for over 100 years now. And eventually, they're going to get it right. And they're going to be, see, we told you, but not for the reasons that they're telling you. When you consider that it's the end of the system for somebody every day of the week. I started getting the scare tactics immediately when I started hearing that the doors are starting to close. Okay, I'm sure people were hearing the same thing 20 and 30 years earlier before that. They used to like to make the comparison of the Watchtower as the modern day Noah's Ark. The doors are starting to close. What I started realizing was Watchtower was Noah's Ark with a screen door. Well, my last couple of years in, I was already fading at this point. When they started talking about the preaching work changing from preaching the incoming kingdom to changing the message to a message of condemnation. And they were starting to talk about that pretty heavily. Nobody knew when that was coming, but they knew it was coming soon. This kind of coincided with the cart witnessing. I didn't know much about the cart witnessing when I first heard about it, but they made it sound like it was only that something that the elite in the congregations would do. Or we have to talk to brother and so about this. I didn't know much about it, and at that point I really didn't care. My last time out in the field ministry was doing the cart witnessing, and I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. Well, from a JW's point of view, the message of condemnation is coming. Because for those indoctrinated JWs who are seeing what's going on, whether they believe it or not, I don't know, but they are trying to convince themselves of things. They are looking at the cart witnessing. Well, we're not doing the preaching work anymore because the preaching work is over. Now they have to come to us. They're also seeing the numbers in their halls dwindling. And although Watchtower is telling them that they're still growing by leaps and bounds, JWs are not seeing this because their halls are being sold. They're going to other halls. But what they're doing is they're convincing themselves that Jehovah is getting rid of all the dead wood. Jehovah is cleaning out all the goats from the congregation. And they really believe this. So they are ready to start condemning. In all honesty, JWs have been condemning for over a century now. I mean, we've all heard them. After they get back in the car, they start condemning this house, this one. They condemn this one for leaving the organization. So Jehovah's Witnesses are quite ready. If Watchtower told them to do so, they would start publicly condemning everybody. From the rank and file's point of view, the time is right to start the message of condemnation. From a corporate point of view, it isn't. And this is why the message of condemnation is never going to come. Now, I said everything has an ending. The preaching work and the message of condemnation is not going to have an ending because it's something that's never actually really started to begin with. Now, JWs are going to be waiting a year, 2 years, 10 years to get the message to go out and start condemning everybody in the world, but it's never going to happen. From Watchtower's end, the corporate end of it, they are still into it to make money. Now, Watchtower knows they're up against the ropes. They see their numbers dwindling. They see the money starting to dwindle. So what are they doing? They're trying to lighten up. They're trying to save what they've got in the organization. As of right now, they're at a standstill as to how to get new members in. Because it's pretty obvious that Having JWs sit by their portable comic book stands is not going to get people into the organization. They don't speak to people anymore. They sit there like store mannequins and expect the literature to do the selling for them, and it's not going to. So for the most part, not only is Watchtower stagnant, but they're still losing members. Watchtower is up against the ropes. Now, if the preaching work was over and the message of condemnation was coming, why would Watchtower spend multi-millions of dollars in not one production facility in New York, but two of them, one also in Australia? If the message of condemnation was coming, which would mean that the end was that much closer, then they wouldn't be spending all this money in the production facility. Let's face it, everything Watchtower has done in the last decade has pretty much been egg on their face. The biggest mistake Watchtower made was jumping on the internet. And the reason being, there was a time when I first got in, not too many people were familiar with who the governing body members were. They were shrouded in mystery. I couldn't tell you one of their names. The only name I ever heard was Ray France. I didn't know who any of the others were. When JW Broadcasting first started, that ended the mystery. Everybody got to see what buffoons they really were. And although I didn't see it immediately, when I first saw JW Broadcasting, all I saw was the 700 Club with Muppets. If the child abuse problem didn't wake up Jehovah's Witnesses, JW Broadcasting certainly did. Now, they assume that all of Jehovah's Witnesses were blind and dumbed down, but many JWs started seeing through this. They saw the Masonic rings. They saw the Masonic hand signs. Watchtower's artwork was a dead giveaway for many. I mean, we all remember the songbook with that back cover. And although many JWs are still in denial about it, most of us recognize what it was. But Watchtower is still into this to make money. Whether the end is ever going to come or not, they're still pushing it off to another day. Now, it's going to be about 4 or 5 years before these production facilities are ready. So you can bet that the message of condemnation isn't going to come before then. And it will not come after. See, Watchtower recognizes that they're going to have to do some changing if they're going to continue making money. They know that their old methods of bringing people in is not going to work anymore. So if the doors were closing, from JW's point of view, that was it. There's no point in preaching. We're ready to start condemning. Watchtower is not going to close those doors because they want an influx of a new crop of people. So those doors will never close. See, Watchtower, like I said, is into it for the financial gain. And that is never going to stop. Whether they survive this onslaught or not, I don't know. Jehovah's Witnesses are convinced that Satan's system is persecuting them, that is attacking them. What did the article say last year? That Satan's system's going after Watchtower legally? Well, if that were the case, if they didn't do anything wrong, not even Satan could set them up. But for any Jehovah's Witness watching who's expecting this message of condemnation to eventually hit, you can be sure you will never get the word to go out and start condemning, because Watchtower is going to keep those doors open for as long as they possibly can. Anyways, guys, you have a good day, and I will talk to you soon.